Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Joy Journey podcast. Woo! Today's episode is a gooder. I mean, they're all good. I don't think I have to preface it, but just really enjoyed speaking with my next guest and connecting with her. She's a friggin' force. She's a powerful joy warrior. She's a speaker, an author, a coach. She's a licensed educator. She's a grief and life coach. She's also our first certified joy method practitioner. She's amazing. She's been a client, she's now a colleague, and I'm so grateful to call her a dear friend as well. I can't wait to share with you more from the incredible Miss Jodie Baulkham. Hey there, it's Jillian, your guide to all things joy, and this is the Joy Journey podcast. Oh my God. All right. Welcome, everyone. I am Jillian Shecker. I'm your host of the Joy Journey podcast. And this month, as you know, our theme is homecoming. I can't think of a more perfect person to bring on to discuss this more fully. For me, homecoming is really that return to who we are over and over again. And especially after those seasons where we feel disconnected, stretched thin, detached, or even maybe lost. And so today I'm excited to introduce you to someone who knows this path in a profound way. She's a dear friend, a colleague, a past client, a certified joy method practitioner. Yeah, I'm really excited to introduce you to Jodie Baulkham. She's a speaker, she's an author, she's a coach, she's a licensed educator, she's a certified life and grief coach, and the best-selling author of Choosing My Tomorrow, Surviving Murder, Navigating Mental Health, and Harnessing the Power of Choice. Drawing from her own personal experience as a first responder spouse and widow, Jodie has become a guide for others moving through grief, resilience, and leadership. She's developed online courses and offers personal coaching to help people carry the weight of grief, build resilience, and live life beyond loss. I've also had the honor of not only working with Jodie, but really just getting to know her. She's an absolute inspiration. I'm so grateful to know you, Jodie. I'm so grateful that you're here. And welcome. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for all of that. I'm really, really excited to have a conversation today with you.
Yeah, I'm so happy to have you. Okay, so we have a lot to discuss. We were talking about this earlier. There's a lot to share. You've got a really rich background in a whole bunch of things, lots of experiences, lots of wisdom, which did not come easy, but so much to share. And so I think let's just start off with kind of that theme of homecoming. When I say that to you, what kind of comes alive for you?
Mm, Homecoming, it's especially relevant in my life, over the last 8 months. I would say I was on a path. I had written the book. I had been sharing about my experiences navigating grief and supporting people in my life with mental health issues and the lessons learned. And I thought that's where I was going to feel most alive. And in the springtime, I realized there was a bit of resistance to that. And so, using the joy method and just settling into my feelings, I was able to come to a different way of being that I feel is so much more aligned and brings me light in a different way that I've never experienced before. And so I'm coming home to myself, and I'm going to say, in a home that is different. I just 2 days ago, my daughter, 18 years old, I moved her into residence. So things are at a very transitional stage in my life. And so coming home to me is something that is very top of mind, especially in this season of life with transition.
I love it. Thank you. I can feel it. It's powerful. And I think let's dive into, so you said use the joy method. I can't help but want to dive in there because
Of
I
course.
like witnessing you move through and use the joy method and then where you kind of landed so deeply in your truth is really inspiring. And I think more people need to hear this. So if you want to kind of just share with us a little bit more about maybe that journey of where we met and what that looked like, and then what kind of unfolded for you.
Yeah, you and we had met a number of years ago at a conference, and I joined your Facebook community, and I attended your monthly sessions, and I was using your gray daily joy journal. And it would just, help me set into what I want to achieve in the day and how I want to feel. And I'd done a little bit of work like this before, but it wasn't as structured. And I like structure. I come from corporate world. Project management, I thought, was a very serious strength that I had. And so your framework really resonated with that. And moving through it, I stepped out of corporate with your help through your coaching just to help me ease that transition. It had been something that was on my mind for a while, but what was I going to do? How was I going to release the fears that I had about money, finances? Who am I outside of that identity? And so moving in, promoting the book, promoting my speaking engagements, a friend came to me and wanted to expand on the work that I was doing, wanted to have grief retreats and weekly webinars and podcasts. And it was at that point I was like, oof, something feels heavy. It's tight in my chest. I want to support people in this way, but there's this resistance. And that's when I really sunk into giving myself permission to feel all of the things. I was a very busy doer. I just distracted myself and I project managed the shit out of all of the things in my life. And that's where I found validation and success. And so it's like, okay, I want to slow down. And I found myself pulling back from things and telling my husband, like, whoa, like when he wanted to redecorate something, I'm like, whoa, whoa. And I'm like, this is not something that I had experienced before. And so really listening to myself and noticing the change in behavior and thought process at the same time. So let's give myself some space to settle in. And it was through that process where I went to my girlfriend. I said, I stepped out of corporate in order to have more flexibility and time. And I'm finding that I'm working harder as an entrepreneur. I'm not living the life that I thought that I would after I left because, as an entrepreneur, you are very busy. You are much busier, I feel, when you're trying to earn your own income than when you're getting a check from someone else. And so I decided to pull back from the retreat, pull back from those conversations and just take a step back. I mean, how many hours was I spending downstairs in my basement on my computer with my husband upstairs and my daughter upstairs, knowing that it was going to be our last couple of months in our home? And so I did. I pulled back. I felt ease with that. I felt at peace with that. And I attribute a lot of that to moving through and really setting that intention. And we did that work together, you and I, in January on the practitioner training. And I kind of lost sight of it. But when I was really feeling this resistance, I went back to it. And it was to live a life of being that is easy, present, joyful, and connected, tending to myself while being excited, supported, and celebrated.
Woo-wee. Yes. And that intention required you to look deeply at what you were truly feeling.
Yes. And seeing how it was aligned and knowing that I wasn't. And so it was with the support of that intention that it took me a couple months to start that inspired action about what does this look like. And the first part was having that conversation with a friend, removing myself from her initiatives. She wanted to set up a formal partnership and I just like, I'm not ready. I don't want that. And so engaging in that conversation, being honest with myself about it, having that conversation. And oh my gosh, was she ever supportive? When I led with this is what I want and this activity isn't going to support that. And so that kind of started things in a way that, being for me was not easy.
Oh,
It's right. Setting that intention, knowing what the goal is, and then stopping yourself from doing all the things that led you to be successful.
right.
That was not an easy transition.
Successful.
Successful in quotes. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, there is so much here to unpack. I feel like first and foremost, how many people listening can hear yourself in Jodie's story? Like, where are the doers at?
Everywhere.
Recovering doer over here. And that becomes part of your identity, especially with career. And, whether or not you're an entrepreneur, it's like maybe in corporate or whatever that looks like, that's a piece of who you are. And letting that go is really tricky. So I do remember us working together. I remember meeting you just like this bright, absolute light at that conference. And then when you reached out, I was so happy to kind of walk with you on this journey of alignment. And it's just so interesting because, most of us would think, you hire a coach, you take the courses, you like she did a Joy Method certification practitioner certification. And you would think, well, I have to do something with it. Like I have to use this. And I think there's again so many pieces. One piece that I love is around the fact that you used it for yourself first. So
Mhm.
the truth is setting that powerful intention. What do you most want to experience? And then having the courage to actually walk it out is a really, really big deal, particularly when it's inviting you to release everything you thought you should be doing.
Oh, the shoulds. So many shoulds.
Right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and so that willingness to hear and again, I can sense those listening who are maybe misaligned right now. You're in the busyness of your life, you're in the doing, you're in the who you believe you have to be in order to be worthy, loved, enough, seen, heard, belong, whatever those desires are. But there's a piece of you that's like, this it doesn't feel good."
Mhm.
And what now? And I'm hopeful that with Homecoming, with this episode particularly, you could see what it gets to be possible when you are brave enough to actually honor your truth and then take those inspired actions. I'm hearing the AAA formula right now, awareness plus action equals alignment. And it's that piece there that requires us to meet ourselves. Like joy, again, is not the light shining and bright, as Jodie well knows. It's literally like, are you willing to take the inspired actions to meet it, to meet yourself, and to live in alignment with what you truly desire? The universe is like, yeah, that's what
Yes.
you want. You're like, yeah, yo, and
Yeah.
walked it out.
Walked it out. It took a little bit of time, and I'll share with you, like, I was having a conversation with a girlfriend from the same organization that I left, and she was on medical leave, openly trying to manage her burnout, and I was just like, "We continue to do the same things that got us into this mess in the first place, so we have to do something different." And I talked to her about my intention, and we came up with this unstriving philosophy.
Yes.
Right? How are we able to just stop and stop the research? Like we could continue to read all of the books, stop doing all of the things and just slow down and be. And one of my joy based values that wasn't entirely captured in my intention was being content. And for me, that aligned with unstriving because I don't need more, right? What I want is different. And so giving me the space to sink into that and listen to the whispers before they become shouts because I've had medical issues too, right? Like this is where your body is loudly telling you things need to change. But giving myself space to listen to those whispers and then like you said the courage to pause. For me to allow myself on a 2 p.m. Wednesday to read a book or watch Netflix took a while. Took a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah. Yeah. You had to
Right?
acclimate to joy, like
Yeah.
afternoon, rest.
Yeah.
Imagine a nap, right?
Right?
It's like these are not what this doesn't align with what we're taught around
Mhm.
productivity and the setup, which is that success is somehow related to how much we do or produce. But really knowing that true success is sustainable, it feels good. It allows you to be in alignment with what you most desire.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love this. Okay, so much more to talk about. Okay, so now you're getting used to doing less
Mhm.
and feeling more aligned with your intention, spending more time with family, doing the things that truly matter to you. Again, I get full shivers when I feel into that for you. You talked about the whispers, and you and I both know it's so important to make room to hear the whispers, ideally before they become shouts, but sometimes the body just shouts. Can you share with us a little bit about what this looks like or looked like for you?
Yeah, the shouting showed up for me medically. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer in the fall of 2022. And I will say, fortunately for me, I didn't require chemo or radiation, but I did undergo 4 surgeries in 2.5 months that culminated with a double mastectomy. So the recovery process from that, from being sedentary, recovering in bed, that's where I turned more focused to journaling. And that's actually where the book came from. I was able to process things in a different way. And I was like, whoa, there's a lot of things here. And the book was born. And so that happened very quickly, actually, that the process of writing and having that published and then doing all of the things, doing all of those things. And then again, when I had this awareness in the spring of this year, which is, 2025, I was starting to be content, listening to the whispers inside of me again to say, no, this isn't where I want to be right now, and setting into something else. But then I got a little bit busier again. My daughter was getting ready for graduation. I had family coming to visit. You just get distracted a little bit. And it was actually on my daughter's graduation day at the end of June where I received a phone call that I had a melanoma diagnosis. And so, again, 24 hours later, I was at the clinic and it was removed. But it's just like my body is not responding well to whatever environment right now I'm trying to create for it. And so that needs to be my entire focus
Yeah.
right now. And so that is the path that I am on with trying to figure out what is going on and how to best support myself so that I can have vitality, so that I can really start to feel into the life that I want, not just trying to orchestrate it. Because when you do that, that doesn't work either, right? We know that you're
Yeah.
working against it. So for me, the medical wake up calls allowed gifts of what do I want to do? How do I want to be? And really support myself in focusing in on what matters most. And I've had a number of these over the course of my life, but most recently, when it is my physical health, that hit me differently than when I was dealing with things outside of myself or in relationships with other people. I'm like, okay, this is the relationship with myself. That is the number one thing that needs to be addressed and paid attention to right now, because if I'm not okay, then I'm not going to be able to interact and be okay with the people that are in my life either.
Yes. Oh my, I have full shivers. Yes. Oh, that reminder, like the one thing that your life, your family, your mission needs is you,
Mhm.
actually, right? And so that whisper when it becomes the shout is really hard to ignore. And yeah, I just want to honor and celebrate the fact that you were able to see that as the wisdom, the information, the informant, and then make those shifts. I also had a melanoma scare. I talked about it once at a talk, and I don't even really think about it because, it kinda happened. The contrast in our lives, according to law of attraction, contrast is actually step 1 of manifestation. These things that might feel like they're here to hurt us or harm us, what if we were to actually look at them as, like a revisioning or an opportunity to revision? And so in 2022, I also had a melanoma diagnosis. It was melanoma in situ. It was the very beginning. But I tell you, when your doctor says the C word,
Mhm.
your whole being listens, right? It is a different kind of shout. And I changed everything. Like that was where I also made my vibrancy my priority. That was where vibrancy became my number one joy-based value. And I sense that we're on the same page here. And honestly, I dip in and out of it still, but when I start to feel the physical not misalignment, it's a very quick whoa, pause, like what do I need to do? And this is why also my rest is now non-negotiable. I did release the doer. It was again easy. Like when you're conditioned to be doing, and also I want to honor our big missions. For a lot of us visionaries, it's not just like we're doing to get the pat on the head. It's literally the pat on the soul. It's like that inner knowing and inner alignment, like I'm in alignment with my soul purpose, which can sometimes pull us out of alignment in the human realm, right? In the body. So that was the year I had actually was the first year of the Joy Facilitator program. I was given her, as always. I had launched a whole bunch of stuff, then de-launched a whole bunch of stuff, which, I'm really learning not to do a lot in the winter, because that's a real time for rest. And then I got that diagnosis. And again, it was handled very quickly, very easefully. But there were so many places where it was really like waiting to hear what
Yeah.
that looked like. That tension is real. And then the self commitment to really honoring the opportunity to be able to do it differently, I think it's like a mulligan and we don't all get them.
Mhm.
And so it was taking that and really applying it forward. And so thank you for sharing that piece because it reminds me of like why I not only do what I do, why I don't do what I don't do. You know, like
I love that.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
reminding me why, because we need that space to be able to honor our hearts, bodies, minds, spirits, and reconnect with like how the intention, how do I want to feel? How, and then the alignment, how am I feeling? How can I get back into alignment? Knowing that we get the opportunity to course correct. But when you're checking in regular, when you come home, not every season or every year, every month, or it's every day when you come home every day to check in, it allows for us to make those course corrections before the whisper does become a really loud shout.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Oh, 100%. And
Yeah.
how many of us have gotten into that habit and practice,
Yeah.
right? I'm not so sure, like I think that's something that a lot of us desire to have, but man, allowing yourself that time and space to get there is just so, so critical and so rewarding when you're able to do it.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us do you have a daily joy ritual or practice? What is it? What does homecoming look like for you on a regular basis?
On a regular basis. So my joy ritual in the morning is to get up, and after I've kind of done the necessities of getting yourself, biologically prepared. Um Then I'll sit down with a large glass of water, and I will just give myself a few deep breaths of calm in a rocking chair in my serene space that looks outside my window. Sometimes it's dark, sometimes the sun's just rising, depends on the time of year. And then I turn to my joy journal, my daily joy journal, and I do that activity. And then I'll listen to a bit of a meditation. Sometimes I do the meditation before. It depends, but then I feel into how I want to be for the rest of the day. And then I go and I get my coffee and I go back and I sit down and just kind of that this is my favorite coffee mug here, and on the inside it says live a life full of joy. I bought this with my mother-in-law who's no longer with us any longer, so I wrap myself in the warmth and the coziness of everything that this mug represents for me. So this is my physical anchor point for the day, and I go on from there. And I catch moments of joy now that I'm slowing down. I'm seeing things differently. There's parts of nature and birds. I always thought that bird watching was, for old people. But
Oh my God, I'm a birder too.
right? It's just like, oh, like my husband, he fills up the feeders, and so I'll watch the birds and I'll look at, I'm like, oh, are you the same from yesterday? And I try to like identify their patterns, and it's really just taking that time, slowing it down, appreciating the sounds and the sights, and then when I go about my day, if there are things that cause my blood pressure to rise, my heartbeat to go up, then I just breathe and I try to anchor into, okay, what was it that I want to feel and how do I shift out of that? So it's like the joy ritual really sets me up for being very conscious and aware so that when I start to shift out of that, I have that anchor to go back into it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. And I feel guided to ask this question. Do you ever miss a day and or two? Like what happens? Do you ever miss your ritual? And then what does that look like for you?
Oh, if I miss it, it's because I have to be somewhere early. And then when I don't have it, I do feel off kilter.
Mhm.
And so then I will try to pick it up in the evening in a different way. I'll identify three things that I'm grateful for before bed and kind of go into bed that night with that in mind and then try to reset in the morning. But when I'm traveling, I bring the gray journal along. Does it get filled out every day? The answer is no, but even just having it around
Mhm.
reminds me that it's part of who I am,
Yeah.
not just what I do.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's that reminder. I love that. I feel like you're like a literal walking testimonial. I so appreciate like I feel like we feel the same about like the journal and the daily ritual, and I feel exactly the same way. When I don't do it, I really do feel it. And I can only disregard for so long before I'm like, okay, life just starts to feel wonky.
Yeah.
And when that happens, I know exactly what's happened. It's I've forgotten my daily practice. And
Mhm.
because I do really think that is the homecoming. And the more regularly we can come home, the less far off we need to get in order to notice, right?
Yeah.
It's like those
Yeah.
little micro moves. So I do want to talk about your book because it is potent and profound. And this aspect of your journey, it's so inspiring and I think so helpful for so many because, we talk about homecoming, there's so many ways in which we leave ourselves. Sometimes it's personal, sometimes it's the end of, an era, maybe it's a transition, a loss of identity for whatever reason, or loss in general. And so I think grief can really, I know for me, like when I lost my father, for instance, that really took me on a whole journey. And then of forgetting, and then I made the journey back home. So in choosing my tomorrow, it's rooted in profound loss and trauma. And so I just would love for you to share a little bit about like how did that loss and grief shape your path back to yourself?
Oh, wow. My husband was murdered in the line of duty a week after I turned 29. And I was on maternity leave with our 8-month-old daughter at the time. And so you think about your life as a 29-year-old, a new mom of 29. I mean, that's already one of those seasons where you're changing into something else. Before, you were single or you're a married person, you only had to worry about yourself and then your spouse. Now I'm stepping into that role of I am a mother now too. And when Chris died, it was like, wow, I'm all the parent in one. And so when we talk about having a shift in identity, I mean, that was profound for me. And I was just speaking with someone last night about how you can find the gifts of grief and honoring that that takes time for people to move through to get to a place where they can find some purpose through their pain. But for me, one of the gifts that I was received is not the best word, but just was present for me, I believe is the fact that Alexis was so young.
Right.
Because she was so young, I did not have to support her through her grief when I was in my acute stages of grief. And so I am forever thankful for that. I have two sisters who have lost their husbands and they've had children who were old enough to remember dad, and that is an entirely different way of parenting. And so I was just kind of flying by the seat of my pants, right? Trying to learn the mom thing, but also the widow mom thing
Right.
at the same time. And so I moved from Hay River, Northwest Territories, where we were living, to Chris's hometown of Ottawa, Ontario, and trying to set roots and establish myself in a new career with new friends. And so I was engaging in different strategies that, the same ones I think my daughter is experiencing right now in her first week of university and being away from home. You bring that forward when you're forced into those situations. So in 2008, that was the life that I was living, trying to find out who I am, being valued for the talents that I had, kind of shaking off the label of widow was really hard for me. I didn't like it. I still don't love it. So it's coming to accept that this is your past, but you can also rewrite the story. And I think that's where choosing my tomorrow, what I want for people to know and take away is you can experience these hard things, but the stories that you tell yourself, that's going to help forge your way forward. And you have the power to choose that way forward. And I think, I had written the book and I had talked about my lessons learned and choosing my tomorrow. I give tips in the latter part of the book. I ask powerful questions from a coaching perspective. But what resonated the most for me with the joy method is letting people know that you have that choice every single day in this way.
Yeah.
And so your work and mine, it's so complementary, and which is why it just hits so hard and why I am a little disciple of it, because it gives a framework to the how.
Yeah.
People want to know, well, how do you do it? The answer of, oh, you just put one step in front, one foot in front of the other. Okay, that gets you to a certain part, but then how do you change that mindset? How do you feel like you have some agency over your situation and your circumstance? And that's where the joy method comes in, most importantly for me.
I love it. Yeah, thank you for sharing. And I would love to hear, I know this is off the cuff, but would you be able to walk us through like how to use the joy method through loss or how to use it when you're choosing your tomorrow, living
Mm,
with life after loss?
Yeah, and I guess that was my intention when we were working together for the practitioner training, was bringing the method into the grief space. And so while I am focusing on myself now and stepping into my current intention, you and I have spoken, there will be a way for me to do this work in the future when I'm feeling a little bit more aligned to do so. But when we are moving through grief, there is so much that we don't feel like we're in control over. And so if we're able to have a sense of control over one small thing, it can make a really big shift in our life. And so with the joy method, with my clients, I have walked a few of them through the process. It's really creating the space where you let them feel all of the things, right? Whether that is confusion or sadness or anger or a little bit of relief, right? Sometimes when people are feeling that they've experienced happiness and joy, guilt is very like quickly following that emotion because they're like, well, I should be sad. People are expecting me to act a certain way. So it's letting go of what other people are thinking and feeling and then really focusing it on yourself. So the first step of feeling the feels is critical for all people, but especially those that are moving through loss. And then noticing those thoughts, right? Being able to identify those fears or those beliefs and having conversations and supportive dialogue around that. And then, okay, can we pick one thing that we might want to shift today?
Mm,
And what does that look like for today and for this week? Right? And those small steps, and then being able to achieve those steps brings on a sense of, okay, I can do this. I have the power to do this and move forward and look at where I came from. And so that excitement and the gratitude that I made this step and then trusting that things will get better and you will not always feel this way.
mm. Oh my goodness. That was really powerful. Makes me emotional because, like, literally that's what I needed when I was moving through loss is someone to just guide me through. For anyone listening, if you're moving through grief and you're feeling lost, Jodie's book is the most beautiful guide. And in the back again, there are such powerful prompts to support you in coming home. And honestly, Jodie, when my dad died, I bought so many grief books.
Mm.
I threw out so many grief books. Like, I would buy a book and be like, it's not what I need. Like, I don't know how to explain it. It just, it did, nothing felt heartfelt. Like, I really just needed someone to take my hand and say, you're going to be okay. And I've been there. And here's how you can feel a little bit better each day. And you might never feel 100%, but you will start to feel better. I just needed that. I feel like your book is like a warm hug. And it's exactly what people need, and I can't recommend it more. I know when we first started working together, I was really like, "Oh my gosh, you're here to help people with grief." And, I detach from what I know or think people should be doing. That's not my role. Like, your sole purpose, your life purpose is not my job, especially to tell you what to do, but I could feel so deeply like this piece is gonna be so healing and helpful for people. And in whatever way, when you're ready in your own timing, whatever that looks like for you, I also feel like this episode is going to be so helpful for
Mhm.
people. So for you, maybe it's not the doing, maybe it's showing up and just sharing, when you get the call. I mean, I'm also happy to have you on again as someone who's like been there. You are a warm hug. You are a warm hug. And, you have also so many gifts, so many blessings. You have so much wisdom. I know also you're helping in the mental health arena, with first responders and more. Is there anything that you would like to share about that from that perspective as someone who's been there on both sides, actually?
Mm, yeah. So, yes, the organization that I worked for that I was talking about leaving I was a civilian inside of the RCMP for nearly 16 years in their learning and development department. And part of that work was to facilitate a program that helped to reduce stigma and increase the awareness of when your mental health was shifting. And so when you have an organization of first responders and specifically police officers, the culture has not been created at that time to support people to say, I'm not okay and I'm struggling. And so we had all of these police officers who didn't listen to the whispers and only went off work to get help once their bodies, shouted at them and shut down. And that was the case for my current husband, Brent. He got to a point where his central nervous system said no more. And so it was after that that I found myself supporting someone who lives with mental illness. And that's the second part of my book. And so it's like the more we talk about sharing our stories, for example, the melanoma that you had, that I had, and we talked about how women aren't talking about their experiences, or they say, yeah, I had it, but I'm good, I'm okay. And we don't talk about the hard things or the change in mind, like from a breast cancer survivor who had a double mastectomy. I mean, I went through body image issues and still going through because it's not the same as it was before. And while I am healthy, when I look in the mirror, it's still that self love. I'm about 80% and working to get myself at 100. So it's always something that you're going to have to work on. But the more we're able to share our stories, and this is what I do on stage, I encourage people to share their stories in order to step into vulnerability with someone else. Because when you're able to create that trust and you're able to show vulnerability yourself, you're inviting others to do the same and to meet you there. And that's where your connection is created. And I don't even remember what you asked me now as I got on this tangent, but it's like, how are we able to create those spaces where it's okay for first responders to and their families to say, I need support. I need to not work right now while I take care of myself. Or I am going to go to all of my appointments and take care of myself while I'm still working. A lot of people in policing, they think they need to step out of the workplace in order to be well. I would love to see it where it's just, I am going to my psych appointment on Friday afternoon and I'm not going to be able to take calls, but I'm going to continue to work. So you're supporting yourself while you're continuing to make that impact on the community in a positive way. And so the passion for me lies really in supporting the families of first responders because we are the ones who are going to notice things first. We're the ones who the mask comes off. We get all of the real deal, which often isn't great. So how can we support ourselves and our children when we are married and living and loving a first responder who deals with tragedy on a daily basis?
So
And
potent.
so,
Ooh.
yeah, that's something that even while I unstrive, that's something that's a passion project. I know that will come out for me in the future because it's just something that is so needed, so
Yeah.
needed.
Yes, 100%. And I think I know you're in the realm perhaps of first responders, but I think it so relates to everyone. This is really, really powerful work. I'm so grateful for you and for the work that you do, even in your unstriving. So share with us kind of what are you excited about? What are you looking forward to? Like, so right now it's like maybe more being than doing, but what are the little glimmers? What feels like it's coming alive for you? And when you have the energy, the time, the alignment, what might that look like, do you think?
So now that Alexis is out of the house, my husband and I have a bunch of travel that we have booked. So we're going to be doing that. And Brent is the healthiest he has ever been in our married life. And so we're going to date each other. That's what's really exciting for me. We're going to go dating, we're going to go traveling, we're going to experience new things. So that's kind of on the personal front. And then for me, it's just really paying attention to what my body needs, whether, rest. I'm stepping into all of that perimenopause. I got the weighted vest. I'm doing the things. So it's really health focused for me and I'm feeling better. And so that is exciting for me. And beyond that, I am a teacher by trade. Education has always been there for me. I find myself doing it in different spaces. Right now, I found myself really supporting a lot of Alexis's friends as they geared up for their transition into post-secondary education. And I'm getting a lot of phone calls from my children's from other mothers type of thing to guide them. And so that's exciting too, right? To be able to support in a different way.
Yeah, I love this. As we wrap up, I mean, I could talk to you for hours and you'll definitely be coming back. But as we wrap up today, for anyone who's listening who is feeling lost or disconnected from themselves, like what is one small piece of wisdom or advice that you would give to support them in feeling that little bit better? now?
Yeah, now a tool that I like to talk about is asking what, not why.
Mm,
And so I find when people are lost, there's more of a sense of rumination and getting stuck. Why is this happening to me? Why can't I seem to get out of this funk? Instead of asking why, I encourage you to start your question with what. And specifically, what can I do right now to move on from this thought? What can I do next? What is my next best step? When you're able to shift into what, that's your action. That's your inspired action. So for me, I talk about it in a different framework, but in the joy method, it's just like that's your inspired action.
right.
So okay, I'm feeling this. What now? And so that helps to continue to move you forward in that in small ways and then celebrate yourself for the small things too.
Yeah.
You don't need external validation. Have that come from within. So if you can take that step, acknowledge yourself for taking that step, and then, well, what's next now?
Okay. Ooh, I love. Okay, tell us all the things. Tell us where to get Choosing My Tomorrow. Tell us where to find you. Tell us how to follow along your unstriving adventures. Tell us everything.
Um, you can find me on the internet, so www.jodiebaulkham.com. My book is on Amazon, or if you're in the Edmonton area, I'm happy to deliver a signed copy to you. I'm on Instagram. I haven't been as active, but historically there are lessons and opportunities to have some insight on how to move through grief. Maybe I'll go on and talk about unstriving, Jillian. Maybe that's something people would want to hear. Who knows? But I am there as well. I'm also on LinkedIn. It's my name, Jodie, spelt with an IE.
Awesome. Amazing. We'll have everything linked in the show notes. I'm
Yeah.
really excited for all the right people to find you. And I'm just so grateful for you. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thanks for being here. Thanks for being you. And thanks for everything that you do. You're an absolute light. And I appreciate you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Jillian.